Do culture influence each other? Culture is a construct of society, used to distinguish between what is normal and what is abnormal. The more one limits themselves and their way of thinking and behaving in the name of the norm dictated by culture, the more respect and appreciation they may receive from other followers of culture. However, the more you get off the line dictated by the authority of culture, the more other people would think badly of you, even to the point of calling you insane, just because you don't agree with the path destined to you by culture. Thus, the contribution of culture in a society is to define what is normal and sane and what is abnormal and insane. Just because it gives it a specific definition, does not make that definition objective and absolute. They who refuse to follow the demands of culture should be aware of their consequences for preferring the democracy of the individual over the totalitarianism of the social consciousness. Therefore I rebel. I believe culture, like society, is an illusion, for illusion who have physical representations, does not make the illusion concrete like the table and the chair. Culture is the to limit not only your behavior but also your way of thinking. This is why culture is basically an imperialism directed towards the individual consciousness, in hope to reshape it in a way it accepts and approves. Culture is basically an illusory factory, used to turn members of society from eccentric beings into obedient ones, with less philosophical inquiry as much as possible. This is my words of wisdom regarding culture. If you are a coward, obey and stay in the illusory prison that is culture. If you are brave enough to go your own way at the cost of criticism, embarrassment and other people's will to keep their distance for you, do it, for seclusion and exile are the territories of those who are strong as solitary individuals. How do cultures influence each other? What are some examples? Anytime cultures interact, via trade, immigration, conquest, colonization, slavery, religious expansion, they impact each other and cause culture change. Ideas and cultural concepts are constantly spreading and moving and changing. Food is a really great example. Chop suey was actually born in New York. Chicken tikka masala was most likely born somewhere in the UK. However, without the Asian influences by immigration in both of these countries, there would have been no creation of these dishes. So these dishes are examples of how cultures influence each other. An immigrant population moves into an area, begins cooking their meals from home and find they can't get a hold of the same ingredients, so it begins to change. Then maybe they open a restaurant and want to appeal to local customers, so they change it further. New recipes and dishes are born. Zen Buddhism is another example. Buddhism was brought out of India and to China by a man named Bodhidharma during the 5th centuries. The problem was, some of the concepts of Buddhism didn't quite translate into the local languages, so Bodhidharma and his disciples used concepts out of Taoism and mixed them with the teachings of the Buddha. This created several schools of Buddhism, one of the most prominent being Chan Buddhism. Through trade and exploration, Chan enters in Japan, mixes with Japanese culture and language and becomes Zen. If you examine each of these practices, you will find some core similarities of Buddhism, such as the Four Noble Truths, but beyond that you will see a great deal of variation in practices and styles. You can, by the way, do this with any world religion. Culture is constantly in a state of change and movement. Humans have, even before we were anatomically modern humans, always moved and migrated. There is and never has been any such thing as an original or pure culture. Anyone who says otherwise is probably promoting a particular ideology or selling some